Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I want to get to before the end of the year. So I say some and not all because I don't know what my brain is going to want to do within the next 2 months, which direction it's going to want to go in, which books are going to sound enticing and appealing to me. So therefore, I've come up with a sort of like short-ish list between like 5 and 10 books that I think could be good contenders for books that I get to before the year is over. Again, we only have 2 months, so who knows what's gonna happen. Some of these are parts of series that I am in the middle of, some of these you've heard me talk about before, and some of them I just want to get to. So that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Also, if you hear a little bit more of a like buzzing noise in the background, a little background noise, that's because I have my fan on above me rather than turning it off like I usually do. It's so freaking hot in my room right now. I don't know why. Okay, I do know why. It might have been because I did a little impromptu dance session to Six the Musical soundtrack before I started filming, which is a bad move on my part because now I'm really hot, but you know, you can't not dance when those songs come on. Anyway, okay, back to the books. I'm not going to be spending very much time on this first book because I've talked about it so much before. I'm just going to show you what it is. It's The Toll by Neil Shusterman. Obviously, I've been gushing about Scythe and Thunderhead since I read them. You guys don't need to hear about this series anymore. I will not bore you. I will say that I didn't have enough time to get to it in October, actually. It turned out I ended up reading other books. Did not have enough time to get to it, but it is definitely going to be on my TBR for the rest of the year because I will get to this if it kills me. Next up we have Fire by Kristen Kishore, which is book 2 in the Graceling Realm series. I really don't know what this is about, like, at all. I just know that it is related to Graceling, but it's not a sequel. So it might be a prequel, or maybe it's not a prequel, maybe it's just a companion story, so it's like a story that takes place in this world but in a different part of the world. I really don't know for sure. If any of you guys know, let me know in the comments, but it is about this girl named Fire, apparently, whose appearance is impossibly irresistible, and she can control the minds of everyone around her. And also there's like this war that's coming or whatever, and apparently there's a prince who is immune to her power. So that sounds fun and possibly like something's gonna happen there, so I'm very much in and excited for this. I guess I should say, if you don't know what the Graceling series is, so essentially the first book, Graceling, is about this girl named Katza. She ends up going on this journey with this prince and all this stuff happens. It's a really good book, but the whole world is about like Gracelings, who are people with supernatural abilities that can do things, but they can do certain things better than other people. So if you have a fighting grace or a cooking grace or something, you're better at that thing than other people are. Oh, these books are heavy. Oh my god. Okay, next up are 2 books to a series that I started this month that I am determined to finish by the end of the year, and that is the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I have the 2nd and 3rd books to get to before the year is over. I'll be talking about Mistborn more in my October wrap-up because I did end up reading the book this month. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to getting to these 2 books. I was honestly not expecting the second one to start at a place that it starts at. Essentially, like, what I've read on the back and like what is happening, I just was not expecting that. So I'm excited to see what the heck is going to happen and where the series is going to go, because so many people love this series and I've finally gotten into it, but apparently not far enough to know what happens. So there we go. The next book that I would like to get to before the year is over, but this one is honestly more of like a leeway book. This is more of like a, I don't know for sure if I'm gonna be able to get to this, so we'll see, and that is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I've talked about this a couple times on my channel, but I've heard a lot of other people talk about it more than I have, and to be honest, I'm still not 100% sure what it's about, but every time I try to describe it, the only thing that I can say is it's about this guy who finds this book called The Shadow of the Wind, and so this guy finds out that some other person is trying to destroy all the copies of that book plus every other book that that author has written. So he goes out and tries to figure out like why, and then there's like some library that he finds, or so, I don't really know what happens. All I know is that so many people rave about it and say that it's great, so it's gotta be good. Also, it's set in 1945 in Barcelona, which I like. I like some historical fiction thrown in there. I like some set in a different country thrown in there. I feel like I'm going to, I don't know, learn a lot and also be like very intrigued. One of the other books that I've really been wanting to get to, that I'm like technically in the middle of this series, is actually The Last of August by Brittany Caballero. Yeah, I listened to this on audio. I really enjoyed it. I probably would not listen to it on audio again just because like I want to know what's gonna happen. so that means I would want to like read the book so I can like fly through it really quickly, whereas audio, I feel like you have to like sit and like really pay attention and listen to it, which I'm totally fine with. But in this case, I think I want to pick up the ebook, which they have on Hoopla, so I can get it and read it and love it, because I'm sure that I will. The series is really fun. It's a murder mystery, like YA thriller sort of series, but it follows the descendants of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. I always forget his name. The character's name is Jamie Watson, but I think the guy, the famous one, is John Watson. Sherlock and Watson and Holmes, that's what I'm trying to say. Every single time I go to say something about this book, I get the man's name wrong. I'm sorry. Anyway, so it's about their descendants, and they're at this boarding school in like Vermont or something, and some boy ends up dying, and they are the suspects. So in order to clear their names, they decide to work together to figure out who the heck is framing them for these murders. It turns into more than that. They turn into more than that. It's great. It's wonderful. I really like it. The second one I've read apparently follows them, but they are now in London or England or Europe, something in the Europe area. They're overseas basically, and it's them again. They're kind of romping through whatever, and they're trying to figure out something else, or maybe like what happened to August Moriarty, who you learn about in the first book. I don't really know what happens in this story as usual, but I'm really excited for it, and for some reason I've just really been wanting to read it. Like every time I want to read a new book, I'm like, oh, maybe I should start The Last of August, but then like I end up being pulled toward a different book instead, but it's always there in the back of my mind, which doesn't usually happen. So I think that means I have to read it. What do you guys say? And so the last like official book that I'm going to put in this video is Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray, which is book number 2 in the Diviner series, which I finished the first book last month and I really loved. Or no, I finished it this month actually, and I really loved it. The only thing that I'm worried about with this one is that I listened to the Diviners on audio, and I want to listen to Layer of Dreams on audio as well because I like the narrator and I like the way that the story is told that way. But it's really, really long. Like the audiobook is like 16 hours long, I think. And also I haven't been crocheting as much as I used to, but now I've kind of focused on writing, and a couple of other things are happening that's like making it very hard for me to want to focus on anything else like crochet. So I don't 100% know if I'm going to be able to read this, or maybe just like finish it. Like if I start it and then I don't finish it, I'm not 100% sure. So this is like a maybe possibly one on here. I would really love to get to it because I did really love the Diviners, but who knows what's gonna happen. I have heard a lot of people say that this book is where the series gets really good, so crossing my fingers that I can make it to it. If you don't know anything about this series, I do feel like everybody has pretty much read it or at least heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was about, to be honest, until I started reading it. So if you're the same way, it's set in 1920s in the New York. It's set in 1920s in the New York. What am I talking about? It's set in the 1920s in New York, and it follows a group of characters, like a big group of characters. I was surprised by how many point of views that it followed, but all of these characters have some sort of ability or something that makes them a diviner, and you learn about what that means and the backstory and stuff like that. But none of them really know that the other has any like powers. Nobody really knows that they're like sort of connected, and in addition there is this like ghost that has come back to haunt New York and basically like murder people and try to raise himself as like the Antichrist in a way. It's really, really weird. And if you listen to the audio, some of the parts with the ghost are kind of like creepy, to be honest with you. If you're scared by literally anything, honestly proceed with caution, because some of those scenes with the ghosts like really made the hairs on my arm stand up, which like if you're a horror movie book guru, you're gonna like laugh at me for saying that, but sorry, it's true, okay? I'm a wimp. Other books that are kind of like honorable mentions that I would love to get to before the end of the year, but is it gonna happen? Probably not. I'd really love to get to The Secret History by Donna Tartt because I've heard a lot about it. My sister talked a lot about it in the video that we did together where we recommended you guys books, and I've been wanting to read it for a while. Also The City of Brass, which is another high fantasy series that I've seen everywhere for a long time and I've really wanted to read. Oh, Aurora Burning, which I said was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and yet I still haven't read it. So yeah, that's fun. That I can actually get right now and start reading it from my library. So I could do that, but will I? Probably not. Oh my god, Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. The Hunting of Morrigan Crow, or The Hunt for Morrigan Crow, whatever the hell it's called. that should definitely be on this list. I did order the Outcrate Junior box for Hollowpox, and it should be shipping at the end of October, so I probably won't be able to get to it until at least November, definitely after the release date, so I'm just going to be biding my time by reading other books instead. But yeah, I have a lot of books I want to get to before the end of the year, so we're just gonna like cross our fingers that some of these can happen, though I'm holding out hope for most of them. I highly doubt that I will be able to get to all of them. Though I can read really quickly when I want to. But right now, I just like, do you ever have those moments where, you know, everything seems to be going fine, you have like a plan, you have a timeline, like, you know, you're on track, whatever, and then all of a sudden, it's like you don't realize that all of these things that you've been planning for just like come down at once, and you're like, oh my god, I have no time to do anything, this is going to start tomorrow, this is starting on Monday, like the end of the month is near, I'm running out of time. I have so many of those moments recently. So many. And it's making me like stressed and sort of anxious. And yet despite all of that, I managed to spend a lot of time doing nothing. Like the other night, I spent so long watching the Great British Baking Show when I could have been doing literally anything that would have helped me in the future. So not only am I stressed because of all the stuff I have to do, I'm procrastinating the stuff I have to do, which is then making me more stressed when I have to get to the stuff that I have to do. So it's just a never-ending cycle, and I thought I got over this when I got out of school, but apparently I haven't. This is genuinely just one of those times where there are so many books and so little time. So guys, I think that's going to be it for this video. If you have books that you want to get to before the end of the year, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I think that's going to be it. So if you want to follow me on any of my socials, all of my handles are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye!